guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Welcome to the stream today. Welcome, everybody. I am so glad that you are here and, not watching necessarily, well, I guess you could be, but not necessarily watching, the World of Warcraft retail race to world first instead of, a little bit more exciting, maybe not. I don't know. I've got fire. Fire's exciting. So, today, I think we're actually going to start working on our axe and starting to shape it into, the way we want it to end up. So we are thin enough now that we are now able to raise the floor of the press, so we won't have to, we won't have to wait so long for it to start pressing our material, so we're going to lose a lot less heat while we're waiting for that press to come down. We are thin, so it's going to take less time to heat, so we should be able to get a lot of work in this week, or the rest of the week. So today, definitely Friday. I'm not planning on doing any forge welding until Monday. At the moment, things could change, but I'm thinking that we're not going to be able to forge weld it until Monday. At the very earliest. So, like I said, today we're going to start really working hard on shaping this axe. So what I want to do is I want to leave a central line or a butt end of the axe, and then thin out wings, or like 2 wings on either side of that butt end that can wrap around the axe handle and kind of create that blade on the end of them. So we will see how long and wide we can get those wings before I decide whether or not we are going to be putting a bit in or not. That will also affect, when we are ready to forge weld, because I may have to, find a piece of steel and shape that piece of steel into a point where we can forge weld that in as the axe blade. So it should be a fun next couple weeks here on the Ray Smithy stream. So a couple of housekeeping things that I have to share. Welcome in, Bluesy. That's Bluesy, right? Yes, it is. Welcome to the stream, Bluesy. Thanks for joining us. So we I emailed the goodness. So I emailed the board, or like one of the board members of the Quad State SOFA conference, and yesterday I emailed and asked permission to show up and get like an interview, like set up a time, and I got a response, and so we have permission to film the conference. So that is always amazing. I'm really excited that, I actually have permission, because, in all technicality, we could film there regardless of whether we had official permission or not, because it is technically, public area. But it's always nice to have permission so that people can let us know if there's anything special that they want us to show, anything or any special rules that we need to follow. I just like to be on the up and up. So we have permission. At least I'm going to take that email as permission. And I'm super excited because this means that I can start working towards getting all of the pieces lined up so we can get our interviews, so we can get our live stream shots, and so we can kind of start planning what we want for our video. I also have a special possible surprise that might line up, maybe not. So until I get a concrete answer on that, I won't be able to share it. but I have a few things that are in the works that I can now start moving ahead on now that we have official permission. It looks like we are currently in ad space. So, yay! So will you make another channel, Ray the journalist? Well, at the moment, I am planning on just keeping everything together on the one channel on for streaming, and then the one YouTube channel. But in the future, there's always a possibility of separating those two things. But for the moment, I just don't have a big enough audience to kind of separate that out. So I feel like consolidating all of my interests into one channel is probably the best way to go, the best move for that. So that's the plan for the moment. Like I said, in the future, I might split some of my stuff off. But for the moment, just consolidating everything. I mean, it's all blacksmithing related, so it's not amazingly, I'm not like, I'm not streaming World of Warcraft over here and, blacksmithing over there and like Baldur's Gate over there or anything. So this isn't going to, it's going to stay a blacksmithing channel. It's not going to become a variety channel or anything. So I think everything is related enough that people won't be too jarred when seeing the different strands kind of get weaved in. What do you mean there's not 4 million of us watching? I know. I don't know that I would want 4 million people watching me live, to be quite honest. I mean, I'm looking at those channels that are currently streaming the World of Warcraft Race to World First, and there's like 40,000 people watching them live. I feel like I'd get performance anxiety if I was them, but I mean, good for them. They're making money. They're, doing well. So yeah, I am super excited. We have the van that I need to, so I have a lot of stuff to get ready for the conference. We've got the van to work on. Like I said, I've got to do a bunch of emails to kind of start getting some stuff lined up as far as like interviews and things like that. And so I'm really excited to be able to get that started. I've really been the last 2 conferences we went to, I felt like they were so rushed. I kind of had to like walk up to people cold turkey without any prep for either them or me. And that makes interviews a lot more challenging. So I'm really excited to like have a little bit of time to prep things. Welcome in, Nate. Would you still only see 1 or 2 cameras? I mean, at the moment, I'm not planning on expanding the amount of cameras that I am doing for the different aspects. So you're still going to see 2 cameras for like when we are in my shop. And we will probably do 1 camera for the actual live show when I'm on the floor, like walking around and things. However, you will probably start seeing 2 different views for the interviews themselves. We'll probably have like a static wide shot of me and the interview subject, as well as, some more B-roll, like close-up shots and things like that for some of the videos on the YouTube. So I'm hoping to increase the quality of the YouTube stuff with like the planning, but I still am working on a way to get 2 cameras for the live streaming. I kind of feel like 1 camera is enough for my partner to be like, walking around backpack style. But, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, Corwin. Hello. I know you need to get the band back together. I do need to get the band back together. You know, all of my people. You know, and then yeah, if we end up there, I feel like if we had more than one camera, it would mostly be like I feel like maybe my partner would have like a wide camera, and then maybe I'd have a camera on a selfie stick. I think that would be a little bit weird though. So because I mean, any selfie stick camera would have to pretty much be a phone. So I don't know if I can manage that, but I do still want to take you to the show live. And SOFA is actually a really large show. I was looking at their like listings and stuff, and they have like 5 or 6 different venues, like buildings where stuff is happening. So there are constantly demos in all of the different buildings. There's like a gallery space. So we're going to have a lot to show you guys in both the YouTube videos as well as the live stream itself. It might actually end up being longer than an hour and a half. It heavily depends on my phone camera battery, but I mean we've pretty much been able to do 2.5 hour streams before with the phone, so I'm not too worried about it. But it'll be a lot of fun. It'll probably be an extra stream. You need one of those glasses with a camera built in. Yes. Sandwich, welcome to the stream. It's 32 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees Fahrenheit up here, and and you don't have a forge going. I do not envy you. I mean, it's actually cooler today. What does it say according to the Googles? It says today is what is it today according to the Googles? Like 91, I think that says. I think that's what that says. That's Fahrenheit. Maybe a power pack. Yes, I have. So I have a power pack that I can definitely hook up to my phone. That's what I used to do DoorDash. So that's like food on demand. You get an app on your phone, and then like a delivery driver will drive whatever food you order to your house. So I used to do that, and I bought some power packs for that. So we have them. They're laying around, able to be used. So I'm not worried about the power at this point. What I am a little bit worried about is I need to maintain, the ability to talk and, interact with you guys and stuff. And I get tired. So because I feel like we're going to be having to go around and kind of set things up a little bit. And I figure I should be fine. But like after the stream, I'll probably be pretty tired. All right, how is our stock? Still a little on the on the cool side. Welcome in, Mahalo. I remember when it was so cold in the shop that we were only going for 2 hours and I could still see my breath. Yes. Yes. That was not fun, and we're gonna have that again this winter. So I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. We'll probably have the heaters going again, and but we'll make it work. It'll be fine. Well, office jobs do have advantages sometimes, at least for air-conditioned offices. Yeah, man, I wish I had an air conditioner in here, but I feel like if I did, it would just be constantly running, and I just don't think it can keep up with the heat from the forge itself. So, it is what it is. So I have been super excited. I'm sure you guys don't care like I do, but Taylor Swift is releasing a new album, and that's very exciting for me. So yeah, some of you guys from earlier in the stream know I used to drink out or my water out of a Taylor Swift cup from the Eras tour. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Waiting for that release. I'm really excited about it. I'll try not to inundate you guys with Taylor Swift lore and trivia and all that stuff. Just know that I am super excited about it. You need a mini split. What's a mini split? It would probably cool your steel faster. Maybe a fan that goes around my neck. Maybe that might work. But yes, I am a Swiftie, guys. So I waited in line for 8 hours to buy tickets to the Eras tour, and we got tickets. So yeah, I was one of the lucky ones that I fought the Ticketmaster line and actually succeeded. I was really lucky. So yeah, that's enough of Taylor. I won't talk about her anymore. At least I don't think I will. I might accidentally bring her up, and if that's the case, then I apologize. All right, I am going to flip this piece of steel upside down so that we're kind of drawing the heat towards that center area and both sides so we can get a full heated piece. Let's see. It's one of those heat exchangers that you make a hole in your wall for heat gets transferred out or in depending on your settings. Interesting. What was that called again? Mini split. Maybe I'll write that down. Okay, I wrote it down. Now I will remember. There's 100 install videos for mini splits. Yeah, so that might be nice, especially when it's really cold outside. If I could get some of the cool air out of the shop and get it a little warmer in here, that would be great. And also, if I could get rid of the excess heat from the forge, that would be amazing. So maybe I'll put one closer towards the bottom of the project wall, towards that bottom, because then, well, I guess it would be better if it was at the top because heat rises, so I get rid of more heat if I put it towards the top. I'll have to check them out and see how they work and what I can figure out if I can manage to acquire one. Yeah, put it up as high as it can go, because yeah, heat rises, so I'm mostly just thinking about where I could put one. If I did, I would have to put one in the corner, because out there it wouldn't go to the outside because there's there's a breezeway between my house and the shop, and then back behind me is the cold shop. So I have to kind of figure out a good place to put it. And then I actually have an attic in the shop, and my partner actually looked in the attic up there, and apparently it is filled with old used tires. So we haven't really dealt with that. So I don't know. Maybe this will give us an excuse. So super excited today because I was able to raise the bottom of the press or up back to our normal like height. So now I won't have to, sit there and lower the top of the press and kind of hold it there. I always forget to hold it there, so I end up having to do that before I do my next heat. So I'm really excited about that. It also should give us a lot more pressure from the 2 tons because we're not extending those springs quite as far. I had something else that I was going to talk to you guys about that was kind of housekeeping related, and I kind of forgot what it was. Oh, ha! So I released a new video up on the YouTube today. It is a 3 minutes and some change review on the drill press that we used to drill out the rivet holes on these tongs. I also used it to do all of the holes for our Raise Smithy sign. It is a Harbor Freight Bauer 10-inch drill press. It worked absolutely beautiful. It was a very high quality machine, and that was really surprising to me because Harbor Freight tools are typically, the cheap tools. But I feel like Harbor Freight is really trying to turn that around and focus on quality. So I was pleasantly surprised with how well this drill press functioned. I mean, I figured it would be fine for a while for wood, but I've been drilling metal with it, and it's just like amazing. Just like the machine shop ones that I used to play with. I was told there would be axes. Hey Yankee, welcome to the stream. So yes, we are starting to build ourselves an axe, but it probably will take us a while to get to the point where we're getting a true axe shape. So we probably won't be widening out the blade of the axe until probably at least Friday. But we will be starting to do that. So I don't know, maybe towards the end of the stream we'll start broadening out the blade. Like I said earlier in the stream, I'm kind of deciding whether I'm going to be splitting or putting a bit in the fold, or if we are just going to forge weld the fold together onto itself. It kind of depends on how the material is working. This is going to be my very first axe. And so, it's going to be another one of those, we figure it out as we go. We figure it out together. So I'm really excited. This is definitely another bucket list project for me. So this is axe number 1 out of 2 axes that I'm planning on doing in the next few weeks. We will be doing a second axe, and that one we will do a punched hole axe. So before that happens, though, I have to make a drift and a punch so that we can punch the axe eye. So I promised you guys that I would make an axe before the end of the summer, and I intend to do that. But we're going to do a second axe in probably mid-fall-ish, so that I can really get those axes in there, So yes, I am super excited today. Let's see. Are we hot enough? I think we'll be hot enough. All right, let's do this. I am going to turn on the record function, but first I'm gonna, I think I must have like tripped and moved the camera. All right, so we're gonna hit record and change cameras. All right, let's do this. Fingers crossed it goes well. I shouldn't be able to screw this up yet. I think it'll take me longer to screw it up. Going to be starting to focus on thinning out these wings here and here, and we're probably going to take this central section and turn that into kind of like a hammer face in case we get our axe stuck in some wood. We'll have a nice big surface to hammer on to get it all the way through and unstuck. As a professional screwer-upper, I must change your notion. Screwing up is not limited by shortness of time. That pneumatic jack reminds me of a Johnny Popper tractor. It starts pulling hard. It definitely does. Because it, like, the popping, it just does that, like, the motor is just, like, ticking along, and it starts slowing down when it's working really hard. So, yeah, I mean, it probably does remind, you know, when it's really pulling hard, it kind of slows down. And you are totally right, Bluesy. Screwing up is not limited by time, you know? But I kind of feel like any screw-ups that happen, like, this early in the process are going to be relatively fixable, right? So I feel like any, like, catastrophic screw-ups are going to happen a lot later in the process. Like, things like the forge weld not taking, things like I have ground through an area that I do not want to grind through. Maybe I put a ding in it in a place I didn't want to. You know, I move the material in a way that's makes it harder to fix. So I'm hoping that things go well, but there's always that chance that I will fail in a project and we'll have to start from scratch. But that's all right, because you know what? I have more material. We have plenty of room to make mistakes in this process. So we are learning. You hope. Yes, I hope. I hope that I don't catastrophically fail too early in this process. I suppose part of it is that I have faith that it is the project that will fail and not like my materials and tools that will fail. So, you know, fingers crossed and all of that, knock on wood, that stuff doesn't happen. I mean, if something were to occur to some of my equipment, I don't know that I'd be able to fix it or replace it. I mean, it would definitely depend on what happened, you know. But I don't have a lot of funds right now because most of the funds that we do have are going to be going into SOFA and the Memphis Metals trips. So we shall see how this goes. Yeah, project fails are learning moments. Tool fails are just sad. Definitely. Definitely. Now, I mean, I've broken my fair share of tools over time. And like, I expect broken tools at some point, you know, because I do buy cheap versions of tools and I do expect them to fail on me at some point. However, You know, I try to contain the failure to a point where I can replace things relatively easily. Mahalo raises Smithy. She can fix any tool. Well, I feel like that's kind of, there's an asterisk there, right? So I can fix tools like, tongs and hammers and, things like that, pliers, whatever, right? But things that are like more mechanical, like my angle grinder over here, when you screw up the angle grinder, I don't know that I have the knowledge of, how the machinery functions to be able to fix this. It's a lot easier for me to just buy a new one in that case, I guess. However, if it's a tool that I can fix, I will 100% be fixing it because it's a lot cheaper to fix a tool than buy a new one most of the time. You can fix it, trust me, it's really simple. Well, I don't know. I mean, if it breaks, then I will pull it apart and see if I can't fix it. If it's simple enough, I could probably fix it. But, and I suppose if it breaks, it doesn't hurt to try because if I can't fix it, I'll just buy a new one anyway, and I would have just bought a new one. So I guess it never hurts to try, right? Angle grinders are actually simple machines. Yeah, I don't know. I've never torn one apart, so I've never seen what it looks like inside of them. So maybe it is simple. I have a little tiny bit of like electrical engineering experience as far as like pulling apart lighting equipment and repairing and soldering like wires together and things like that. But I'm not amazingly good at like car maintenance and things like that. So I don't know. There's always a chance that I can fix things that break, but sometimes I hold up the white flag, surrender, and go and buy new things. First thing to do is check the brushes. Oh, I think that this thing is a brushless. Like most of the DeWalt tools that I own are brushless motors. So yeah. A switch or a bearing is easy enough. A broken arbor is a junk pile. A junk pile time. I mean, yeah, it's always going to be like, what is the part that's broken, Because oftentimes when you have a piece of cast steel that's like a part, like a gear or a shaft or things like that, that's cast, and they break, usually they fail at a casted or like a flaw in the casting. And you could technically weld those together, and that weld will be super, super strong. But the flaw in the casting, if it extends further than that weld, then it's going to break again. That weld will always be stronger than the material around it, especially when you heat it and lose that temper. Well, Mahalo, if you have one, it's fixable, but it's often cheaper just to get another one. Yeah. All right, so we do have an ad incoming, and once that ad is done, I will do another heat on the press, and we're going to keep on keeping on with this axe, just like the title says. We have plenty of heat for the next round through the press. So I just want to make sure that I don't, you guys don't miss half of the heat because the ad is going. Or you could do like I do with tools that I use a lot in rough areas. Get the cheapest throwaway one and just keep replacing it. See, I've done that too, Oftentimes when I'm painting, I don't bother cleaning my brushes. I just throw them, or I buy like the cheapest chip brushes, use them and throw them away because I don't like having to clean the paint out of the bristles. I look for Makita sales when they have 2 grinders for 100. Always have a spare. Makes sense. See, I think I bought my angle grinder for $25. It was on sale, and I've had that thing for, goodness gracious, I don't even know how long I've had that. Maybe 15 years? It's one of my most reliable tools. I lost the key to it like many, many years ago. I just use my multi-tool to unscrew the thingy thing, or like the plate, and then I change my bit, and then I screw it back on using the multi-tool. It's probably not good for the multi-tool itself, but it works for me, and the multi-tool has like stayed together really, really well. It's not wobbly or anything, so that's exciting. I feel like my multi-tool it's like one of the higher quality ones on the market. Well, I guess it's not on the market anymore. I have a Gerber, and they stopped making the kind that I have. All right, so it looks like the ad is done. I am going to do my next heat on the press. All right, let's change cameras. Whoa, what am I tripping on? I don't know. Alrighty. We're going to turn this guy around and start working on that side. I really want to make this even, so we'll work on both sides at the same time. So I really want to work on both wings at the same time because it is a lot easier to keep things symmetrical if you are working on them at the same time. When I make my toms, I have a tendency to do one side and then the other side, and then they're just never symmetrical. Back when I was a little bit more healthier, I had a tendency to do 2 projects at once, like always rotating what I was working on. That way I never had any lost time, and my tubs always ended up a lot more symmetrical when I did it that way. So the reason I don't do it that way now is because the natural gaps while I'm waiting for the forge to heat the piece are the perfect opportunities to interact with you guys. And I think it's worth not being as prolific as I once was, you know? It also means that I get little breaks between each heat. So, let's see. I am seeing the piece, it's starting to bow and curve a little bit. So I think we can correct that by flipping it upside down and starting to work from the bottom side up. It might start veering it in the opposite direction, and if it does not do that, we will come over to the anvil and kind of start trying to center those wings up. We're really gonna want to keep them nice and straight, so that we can get a nice profile for those axe bases. I am kind of wanting to have a symmetrical axe. So if you draw a line horizontally along that axe head, I kind of want it to be symmetrical. I feel like the axes that I imagine in my head are relatively symmetrical. There might be a little bit of a beard at the bottom, but for the most part, they're symmetrical up and down. Are you going for a double bit axe? No, I'm not going for a double bit axe. What I'm doing is I am going to create a folded axe. So right now it's like long and it's flat, but we are going to wrap it around a handle and forge weld the two ends together to kind of create a, I guess, kind of a clamshell. And then once I forge weld them together, they will become one piece of steel again, and I'll be able to shape that blade into whatever shape I'd like. So if I can keep both sides equally wide and positioned on the axe, then it'll make it a lot easier for me to forge weld them together. Ah, okay, yeah. So I'm trying to make a wood cutting axe, not a weapon axe. Because like double-sided axes tend to be more weapon-like, used for medieval weaponry and stuff. I'm more looking to do a wood cutting axe. I feel like I need to get that basic shape down to a point where I can make that shape before I try and get too terribly fancy with it. And I guess forge welding it is a little bit more fancy than punching, but like I said, it's going to take me a little bit longer to make the tools that I need to make a punched eye axe. And I promised you guys that I would finish one before the summer, and I intend to keep that promise. Well, have broad axe will travel. I mean, mercenaries are often desirable. It is a fantasy adventurer job. I kind of feel like more in modern times, people don't look for mercenaries that have axes or skills with axes as much as other types of skills. But you never know. Alright. I'm going to do another heat while we're chatting. And I'm checking my times on my cameras real fast. Make sure that we've got those plenty of time left on the clip. side and start working from this direction. We're going to do one more heat on this end, and then we're going to flip it around and do a little bit of work on that end. All right. Seems to be doing working pretty well. The one wing is a little bit longer than that other wing, but we did two heats on the longer side and only one on the shorter side. So I'm hoping that we gain enough of that distance on our second heat on this side. If we don't, then we might do a third heat on that side. All right, I need to grab some more water. Water. So, I hope you guys are keeping hydrated too on these really warm days. Do you guys have a favorite beverage? I mean, I can't say that water is my favorite beverage. I really like Mountain Dew, but that's not a hydrating liquid. So, you know, water is probably my go-to when I'm out here in the shop. But I think that Mountain Dew is probably my favorite drink. Coffee is a lot of people's drinks. Does 4140 work similarly to mild steel, or is it noticeably different? To be quite honest, it is working quite a bit like mild steel. I'm not really noticing much of a difference. We definitely did notice a difference when we were working with Atlantic 33. We noticed a difference when we were working with stainless steel. They were both a lot harder to work and had to be heated a lot higher, and at least with stainless, the heat doesn't stay inside the steel for as long as with the carbon steels. So that's kind of what I'm feeling at the moment as far as working with this new type of steel. Corwin says Mountain Dew, and Bluesy says coffee black. Mahalo likes Mountain Dew. Oh, but Lightning, Corwin. Yeah, it's been a while since I've had Mountain Lightning, the Walmart brand Mountain Dew. It's always interesting to taste the difference between the generic sodas and the pure name brand sodas. Honestly, though, there's a lot of like smaller brand sodas that I really do enjoy. Like I really enjoy a lot of the Jones sodas. There's a couple of brands of that are local to St. Louis that I really enjoy. Like Fitz's soda is really, really good. That's a St. Louis classic, as well as what is it? I want to say Surge, but it's not Surge because that's a Coke product. What is it? It's like a lemon lime soda. And that one's also pretty good. If I remember the name of it, I will definitely let you guys know. But yeah, I really enjoy soda a lot better than coffee. And I'm not entirely sure why. I don't really like coffee because, I mean, it smells amazing and delectable and like something that I would really like. But it definitely does not taste the same as it smells, at least to me. Yeah, some of the small craft sodas are pretty good. I like maple root beer. Do I like St. Louis barbecue? Well, I think it depends on what you consider St. Louis barbecue, because honestly, I don't taste much of a difference between St. Louis barbecue and Memphis barbecue. But I do love the smoked pit style barbecue. I mean, it is so amazing. We have several world class barbecue joints in both the St. Louis area as well as the Memphis area. And I mention the Memphis area because I eat a lot of barbecue when I'm at the Memphis Metals Museum. They like to bring pit barbecue people in to a lot of their events. And so I've had a lot of Memphis barbecue in my time. Now, I feel like St. Louis and Memphis barbecue is a little bit different than the barbecue joints that I would have when I was back home in my hometown of Moline, Illinois, in the Quad Cities. That it just wasn't quite as good, you know. There wasn't as much, you know, smoky flavor to it, and a lot of the barbecue sauces are really sweet. So the places I've been to around Iowa seem to be more Texas style. See, Texas style barbecue is like my top. Like that's S class barbecue right there. Especially Texas style brisket. Fall out of the char. Texas style brisket is absolutely amazing. And if you guys from Europe ever have the opportunity, you know, taste it. It's amazing. Definitely something to, you know, to try if you ever get the opportunity. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. But I'll bet you guys have a lot of other foods that you guys like as well. Not bad, not bad. We have corrected a little bit of that downward shift by turning it upside down. And so I'm gonna flip this guy around and we're gonna try and do the same on this side. So we've got that length that we were looking for. So we're gonna keep on keeping on. The one thing that I feel like is can be an issue with specifically the St. Louis style barbecue that I have had is there are a lot of really fatty pieces that are used, and they have a lot of flavor to them. But if you're not really, you know, fond of eating straight fat and like that texture, sometimes it can be a bit much. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like we have a lot more Mountain Dew drinkers than coffee drinkers. That actually surprises me a bit. I really thought we'd have a lot of coffee drinkers, people who are obsessed with coffee. It is one of the top favorite beverages in a lot of places. So I guess I was a little bit surprised. Have you ever had Italian beef sandwiches in Chicago? I missed that. I have had one Italian sandwich in Chicago, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't really remember much about it. Um, I love Italian beef, but I don't think that I've actually had Italian beef that's like proper Italian beef. But yeah. So what other things do you guys really love to eat? What's your favorite food? I think I've said before that my favorite food is pizza. And the reason that my favorite food is pizza is because you can put any topping on it and it tastes amazing, you know? You can put like a veggie style pizza, a meat and veggies. You can put taco fixings on a pizza and it is amazing. I guess I just love pizza. Or I guess American style pizza because American style pizza is very different than Italian pizza. Pizza and buffalo wings, that's a very American favorite. There's only one place to get Italian beef sandwiches, Italy. I mean, yeah, I haven't had proper Italian beef sandwiches from Italy. So like I said, I don't think that I have ever had proper Italian beef. Europeans. I don't know. I mean, I've always wanted to travel to Europe and taste some of the food there because I mean I can imagine that there's some awful food, but I can imagine that there's some amazing food. And here in the United States, there's awful food and amazing food. So I would love to taste some like culinary delights from some of the high class type of establishments. I also think that it would be amazing to have pasta from one of the little Italian ladies that make their own noodles and stuff. I think that would be amazing. What? If you want Italian ice, just go to Italy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, ethnic food is just you can get good ethnic food here in the United States, but it's 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 harder to find than in the area that it is from ethnically. Like you can find uh, true Chinese food at different places, true Korean food, but I feel like those are like the mom and pop places, and oftentimes you have to order off menu to get them. Whereas clearly if you go to some of these places, you'll find some of the best examples of those cuisines in the world. I mean it's pretty obvious. Good. Anything can be hard to find here. I mean, yeah, anything can be hard to find. It depends on where you're at, really. See, I live near enough to St. Louis that I do actually have the opportunity to taste some relatively authentic cuisines. But if you're like in the middle of nowhere, it's a lot harder to find more authentic cuisine, I feel like. I live in heaven. We have the best beers, the best fries, the best chocolates, and the best waffles in the world. Do you not need anything else? Yes. All right, we're gonna do another heat. Except a taco truck. I I love tacos. I won't lie. Tacos are amazing. They're probably a close second to pizza for me. And we're gonna keep on working on this side just so that we can. We've already started shifting the material that way again, but I want to keep on keeping on with that. So we've got a really nice thick area here that's going to create a really nice hammerhead on the back of this axe. So I'm really going to focus in on those wings and kind of thinning those out. Corwin says, I love taco trucks. So there is this new style, and I say new with like an asterisk because it's probably not actually new, but it's new to me. Over the past couple years, people have brought what they call birria, 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 I don't know, but this type of meat, and they put it in tacos, and they like soak the taco shell in the liquid from the pulled beef. So it's like Italian beef but Mexican style. So they kind of cook the meat in like a broth or a juice, and then they load up your tacos, dip them in the sauce or like the liquid, and serve them to you with like street style toppings. So like parsley and onion. Well, not parsley. What is it? Oregano maybe. I don't know. I think it's oregano maybe. Cilantro. Yes, that's right. Cilantro, and little onions, and so a little bit of cheese, and those are amazing tacos. I love that. Those are awesome. It's like Mexican French dip. Yes, they serve you this like little bowl of a liquid love practically, and you dip the tacos in, and they're a giant disaster. They're so messy because they like drip everywhere. You need lots and lots of napkins, but I love those tacos. They're so amazing, so amazing. There is no such thing as cilantro. It's oregano. I suppose maybe it's another name. That's what they serve it at, or the name they serve it under here, in that context, I guess. So we are about to start another ad. So once that ad is over, we probably will have plenty of heat to do another trip through the press. And so, that's what we're going to do. Oh, yeah. So I don't know. Things and stuff. You know what? I totally forgot. I forgot to put my dock back up, my activity theme doc. Have I missed any of the follows? It doesn't look like it today. That's all right. I didn't really expect to have a lot of new followers today. I kind of feel like the race to world first for World of Warcraft, and there's a couple other events going on here on Twitch. And so I kind of feel like there's going to be less people looking for new content and more people kind of sucked into the large streamers today. So, yeah. My mom has the gene where cilantro tastes like soap, but fortunately I didn't inherit that. Cilantro comes from the coriander plant. Yeah. That's why I was like, I don't think that it's cilantro because I feel like people would not want to eat the rice that has the little green leaves in it. Oh, cilantro is what's in the tacos. Okay, so I don't know, maybe. I know that it doesn't taste like soap to me. I do have the gene that, or I am missing the ability to produce the enzyme to be able to drink milk. So, or have like cheeses and things like that. Yeah, so I am not hearty northern stock. I am lactose intolerant. I have to take pills. So I don't do a lot of ice cream and things like that because it's a lot of effort to take the pills so that I don't, expel it. It's a small percentage of people that have cilantro taste gene. I mean, I've met a couple people who have it, but very few. I think I've only met 2 people who have that. All right, I am gonna do another heat. All right. Gonna flip the piece around again. Start working on the other side. We're getting to a point now where these tongs are having a little bit of trouble gripping onto this piece of stock. So I might have to change tongs again. Back in the heat. Super exciting. We're making progress. I will have to come back to the anvil here in a few heats, just to kind of tighten up those edges, the side edges, and make sure that we're not growing wide in a direction that we don't want to happen. And when we finally get to the point where we want to widen out the piece, we will start by moving the press dies, or like removing them and turning them 90 degrees so that we can get that widening pressing. So right now, the dies are horizontally oriented, and they are rounded dies. So we're getting a lot of movement, lengthening, and not a lot of width, right? So by turning the dies 90 degrees and starting to smash the material vertically, then we're going to get a lot of width. The other thing that we're going to start doing when we come over to the anvil is we are going to start establishing shelves, or isolate the butt end of the axe, the hammer side that we want to create. So we want that to be fat, but in the direction that we want. So we kind of want to turn it into like the spine of a book is kind of the best way to put that. So if you open up a book, like a hardback book, you kind of have the spine, like the cardboard on the outside of the spine, it kind of sticks up in a rectangular shape. And that's kind of what I want to create with this nice hammerhead on the end of this axe. A good place to hammer it, to split the wood if the axe gets stuck partially through, and also a nice hammer that you can use to like hammer down tent pegs and things like that. Let's see. We're still good on our record function. I'm trying to make sure that I record everything because I've been going through some of the footage and I'm missing like little chunks of the footage, like 5 to 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And I want to make sure that I close those gaps a little bit. It's not terrible when I lose a little bit, but I like to have many variety or many options when I'm editing my condensed videos. So this weekend, my parents are coming to visit again. My birthday is coming up here shortly. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you when, but it is not a day that we stream. So yeah, my parents are coming this weekend to celebrate my birthday, and it's not the exact day of my birthday either, so you know that's not a clue either. But so I'm really excited to see them, but it also means that I don't have as much time to edit and shoot over the weekend like I normally have. So it should be interesting. I also feel like I probably need to clean, but I don't know that that's going to happen. It's a lot cleaner than it has been in the past because I don't have dog hair in the corners anymore. So most of the cleaning that needs to be done is like picking up junk that we leave laying around, as opposed to a lot of vacuuming and dusting. So that should make it a lot easier to clean, at least. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. focus in on the raised areas because that's going to increase the length a lot faster. It looks like I need to go a little bit deeper in too. Maybe one more press on this area here. So yeah, because I think this fat area is a little bit wider than I want it to be, but I need to focus in on this side of the wings and not this side. So we're gonna do one more heat on this side. One more heat, one more heat. More than one more heat. Many more heats. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so my parents are coming to visit. I'm really excited. I live about 4 hours away, well, 4.5 hours away from where my parents live, so I don't get to see them very often. You know, now that I've moved down to the area that my college was at, and part of me is like, I like the life I have here, but another part of me is like, I do miss my family, I don't have as much support here as I do up in my hometown, So it's one of those things, sacrifices we make sometimes. What kind of dog do you have, or do you not have one anymore? I did have a dog when I first started streaming, but she passed away a few months ago. She passed away in early June, I think. She was a black lab and collie mix, and so she kind of had medium length hair, but she was always shedding it. So I could not keep up with the amount of hair that she shed. So every time I turned around, there were like tumbleweeds of dog hair everywhere. So we have not gotten a new dog yet. We're kind of waiting to kind of see, how things play out as far as the channel and a few other things. And then maybe we'll look at getting another dog. I do have a cat. He's an orange tabby named Tungsten. And he is an adorable little creature. He's too smart for his own good. I'm sorry. I miss her. I do. But she only had one bad day. Like she ended up she had a tumor on her liver that we didn't even know about, and she was very active. She was very, playful, and then the tumor burst, and unfortunately we couldn't get her to the emergency veterinarian in time, because it happened on the weekend, and our vet was not open at that time, and the emergency vet did not open until several hours later. So unfortunately, she did not make it. So I do miss her, but I had a pit bull that passed earlier this year. A couple months later, we got a Stafford Bull Terrier. Ooh, terriers are always fun dogs. My partner's stepfather and mother used to have a lot of terriers, and they used to be very good at training them. So good that they were able to run agility with them, and I mean, their Westie was the world's top Westie in agility for a while, before he retired and then passed away. They have more dogs now, different dogs. But yeah, they still do a lot of agility, which is, it's kind of like dog shows, but like athletic dog shows. The dogs kind of run through like weave poles and or jump over hurdles and like run through tunnels and stuff, and they time them. It's kind of an interesting sport because I mean I feel like the human has to run at least as much as the dog does. But yeah, terriers can be really, they're very really opinionated a lot of times. You know, they talk a lot and they have opinions. I have 4 little Leonbergers. I don't know that I am familiar with that breed. And or I might be familiar with the look of it, but not the name of it. So, Bluesy, if you've got a picture to share, you know, I'm always down for pet pictures. Yes, many, many pet pictures. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. All right, that's much better. So I'm gonna flip this guy over, and we're gonna do one more heat on this side, and then we'll probably go over to um, the anvil. So, Bluesy, do you have any barn cats? A lot of farmers have cats that kind of keep the mice away. Do you have any that you like, or you know, any of note that maybe you dislike? I'm a big cat person myself. Um, you know, I was the one that was pulling for getting my cat, whereas my partner is a dog person, and so the dog was my partner's. I did love my dog, but it was definitely my partner's dog. I'll just link the Wikipedia site. You'll see the little, or that little uh, may have been a little while. Only 47 barn cats. Only. Ooh, that is a really pretty dog. Leonberger. Are they good herding dogs? They look like they'd be really good at herding like sheep and goats, you know? My Jade, she was definitely a herding dog. She really took to that collie side of her, and she was constantly trying to herd my partner and I into little corners and areas that she wanted us in so that she could watch us better. They keep the mice out of the goat's feed. I'll bet. cats are really good at hunting mice and small vermin. My cat is a amazing mouser. One of the reasons that we got my cat is because we had a mouse problem in our previous house because we lived, our backyard was, it butted up against a grassy field, and so we were constantly getting little mice in, and we just couldn't keep them out. So we got a cat, and Tungsten has scared them out, and has continued to do so at this house because, again, we are butted up against a field. This one's like a farm field. It's kind of a teeny small farm field. But yeah, he's kept the mice out of the house, and I am very grateful. Well, they heard, but they are fairly slow. Oh, okay. My dog helped me trap a mouse once by cornering it. Yeah, my dog was also pretty good at getting mice as well, and would help my kitty. And they would kind of work together. You could always tell who got it, though, because if my dog got it, there'd be like a giant chunk taken out of it, because my dog likes to try and eat them, and my cat will actually pick them up alive, like scruff them and bring them to us. So if you see it, or if we saw a dead one, we kind of knew that it was probably the dog, and yeah, the cat kind of tends to bring them to us. I have the Leonbergers because we have wolves, and even wolves will think twice to attack the Leonberger. They look like really large dogs. And so, yeah, it makes sense that the wolves would be at least a little bit intimidated by them. So the wolves, if you don't control them, will they take your parts of your flock? Will they take goats from you? Your cat is trying to teach you to hunt. Yes, he definitely is. But I mean, my partner isn't too bad at it because, like, when my cat is chasing mice, they kind of work together. You know, the pack mentality where the cat's got, you got the flusher and the killer. They kind of do that little partnership. I kind of feel like my cat is a lot better at like actively catching them, and my partner's a little bit better at flushing them. 80 centimeters and 31 inches. Ooh. That is a big dog. I mean, that'd be like, I don't know, yay big. That's still a relatively large dog. Definitely. All right, I'm going to do one more heat. We flipped that over so that we could get that straight, or so that we could start trying to straighten it. This will be the last heat before I go back to the anvil and kind of isolate the hammer face that I want on the back end of this axe. And so that's what we're going to be doing next. Yeah, it's why, it's why you have Leonbergers, donkeys, and fainting goats to protect my milkers. And no, it's up to your thigh, hip almost. Oh, okay, so up here. Okay, that is a really big dog then. I'm gonna start back here this time. I really want to get that length. Alright. I'm gonna need to switch tongs again soon because this is starting to get thin enough that I'm having some trouble gripping onto this with these tongs. So, yeah. We're gonna start isolating out that hammerhead that I'm trying to create. I just want like a little bit like about there. And yeah, so back in the heat. I also want to shore up those edges and make them all nice and parallel. Trust me, it is. It only weighs about 145 pounds. Well, the male anyway. I'm almost 50 pounds lighter. Yeah, I only weigh about 125 pounds myself. So yeah, definitely bigger than me. But I mean, my dog was about yay tall, and she was able to pull me around when we were on the leash. So she just like, if she wanted to take off, she just dragged me behind, and I just had to keep up. So when I knew that there was going to be a lot of distractions where she was going to want to run, I was like, I can't do the leash thing, and my partner is a lot stronger than me, so I would trade off. So yeah. Optimized Chaos, thank you so much for that follow. I always appreciate new followers. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Thank you so much. See, it was totally worth bringing up the the stream activity feed. Same with those Leonbergers. They are well trained though. It is awesome when you have well-trained dogs that are like the larger breeds, because it's dangerous when they're not well-trained and they just like run amok. They could really hurt you if you're not careful and they're not well-trained. Yes, thank you so much. I hope y'all are having fun. I'm having fun. We have an amazing community here at the stream. You know, we've got a lot of people who have a lot of really fun stories, and they're very intelligent. You know, they have a lot of good advice to give, and yeah, I'm always excited. Yes, sending it out the thank you for that. Yeah, I am always excited to meet new members of the community and get new followers. There are a decent amount of blacksmiths on the platform, but I kind of feel like I am one of the more consistent ones with my time and stuff, but it is always the best to be able to check out other blacksmiths on the platform too. And then you have me. I'm not that intelligent, just fairly experienced. I am. Am I the most consistent? I try to be really consistent. It is I try not to disappoint you guys. I think about how you come and watch me during like throughout your days and or your nights, you know, and I try not to. I feel like if I don't stream, it's a little disappointing. So I try to be consistent. All right, so we are about to start a new ad. So once that ad is done, I will probably do another heat. While that ad is playing, I guess I'll probably move the camera since I decided that we were going to go to the anvil and I haven't moved it yet. moving cameras. Oh, looks like I lost my clip anyway, so it's good that we're moving things. How long has it been? Oh, it's only been about 3 minutes. That's not too bad. So we'll cut the wide clip, start it up again. And now we'll work on focusing the tight camera. All right. There we go. And we'll turn that record function on. Well, PS Knives may be a little bit more consistent, but he does not do just blacksmithing, he makes knives. And then you have someone like Johnson who doesn't smith. I don't know that I am familiar with PS Knives. Is there another knife maker on the platform? I will have to look them up. I really like following all of the adjacent crafts. I guess I consider adjacent crafts to be like knife makers, blacksmiths. Glass makers are semi-adjacent, so are potters. I try to follow as many of them as I possibly can find. So I hope that, yeah. And I mean, I am not completely consistent. There are times where I have to cancel streams, so yeah. Yeah, he is, but he is in a totally different time zone. Oh, and Korean Nature. Yeah, I haven't seen Korean Nature on in a while, but they probably are streaming a bit earlier than I am, which for them, because European, it would be in the middle of the night for me. So maybe they are more consistent. I guess I only say that because I haven't seen these people as consistently. So I guess I can't really say that. I try to be consistent. It's been a few weeks. Okay. All right. So I am gonna do my next heat. So for this heat, what we're going to do is we're going to be isolating the material on the spine of this axe head. And so, yeah, we're going to place the material along the edge of the face of the anvil and hammering downward. Well, like Cyan Knives, he streams early in the day in Europe. Okay, so I probably wouldn't be able to catch him because early in the day in Europe is early in the morning for me, usually. All right, I want to straighten this out just a little bit. All right, and then start flattening it out. All right, so we've got a nice shelf starting to form. We might want to pull that back a little bit now that I'm looking at the edge. So I think I probably want to pull it back a little bit further. But yeah, more heat. Well, I guess I can only say that I am one of the more, or one of the more consistent blacksmiths here on the channel, or I mean on the platform. All right, that went relatively well. There is a bit of scale coming off of that, so I might take a little bit of time to clean off some of that before I hammer it and it, like, flies up at me. I also, like I said, I'm having a little bit of trouble hanging on to the piece of steel, so I might see if I can't find another set of tongs that might work a little bit better. But I don't have a lot of flat stock tongs. Maybe these? I might try these. These might not work very well. I'll try them. All right. So I am empty again, so I'm going to grab another water. And this will be my last water, and then I'll have to go in the house and get a Gatorade. 3 waters and 1 Gatorade. Except for my Gatorades are like super, super big now. So I guess that's probably actually a good thing, because usually I will finish the little 8-ounce ones that I've been getting, and then I'll have to go back to water, and I didn't actually fill my container as full as I normally do. So it's probably better that I have bigger Gatorades this time. So I buy my Gatorades in bulk. I buy like 24 bottles at once, and from the Sam's Club, which is the bulk store branch of Walmart. And yeah, so it's relatively cheap to buy in bulk, but or cheaper to buy in bulk than to buy individual. But you get what you get. With them, sometimes they don't have, or they don't always have the consistent stock that you would find at a grocery store. They kind of rotate some things here and there. So we got the bigger sizes this time. All right, I think I'm gonna do another heat, and we're gonna push back a little bit on the isolation. Like I said, I think it's a little bit too wide, so we're going to try and correct that, because we haven't isolated, or we haven't created a big enough shelf to make it hard to move that steel yet. In other words, it's a little bit easier to correct it right now than it could be, or will be later. All right, let's see how well this works. This needs to go this direction. All right, these are a little bit easier to hold things, but they are twisting a little bit. So I don't know, maybe I'll go back to the other ones. That's a much better place to put that shelf. So I'm pretty happy with that. We'll just stick that right there and keep on hammering. But we need to make sure that we're consistent with it. All right, back in the heat. I don't know if I like this set of tongs better or the other set of tongs better. Oops, that's the button. So yeah, I feel like this set of tongs is spinning, or like rotating at just as much as the other set. So I will probably go back to these, because these are a lot longer and I don't have to be as close to the flame when I'm pulling things out of the forge. Flat tongs. That's another thing that I can put on the list of tools that I need to make. I guess I didn't really think I was going to need to make them because we were going to be doing axes. And I thought, or I guess I didn't realize that it was going to take me as long as it is to flatten out and draw out the material for this axe head. I was just thinking about making an axe head, which is why I made the, the large stock tongs, make them a lot more consistent and easier to pick up large pieces of stock with. So, well, I am now starting to run out of topics that I prepared. I mean, I feel like it took a bit longer than, the last couple weeks. I tried to come up with more topics because, I feel like I've been floundering a lot earlier. So then I clearly need to prepare more topics, right? I don't even know what time it is, though. Well, I've been streaming for about an hour and 45 minutes. JD Kudison, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for the support with that follow. Doing great. See, I feel like I can pull some topics out of the ether relatively well, but I also feel like I talk about running out of topics while I'm thinking about things, and I don't know. Hi, should get some box jaws. Welcome to the stream. So your first message got flagged by the auto moderator, and I wonder if it was because of box jaw, because box, and I'm not going to explain why it might have flagged that. I'm sure you guys can guess. That is very strange. I don't know why. Because it's a relatively old term. Anyway, yeah, box jaw tongs would be amazing. I do need a set of them. I just don't have them. I normally use like square and round bar. So this is like the first time that I've really done a lot of thick bar. Yeah, I honestly don't know didn't know what to do. I get it, but I also don't. I mean, a box jaw tongs are actually the name of a set of tongs. So, it's definitely something that I would allow because it's not, offensive in any way. But it is the auto mod, and the auto mod is a little bit overly specific sometimes. Yes. Very sensitive. But yeah, box jaw tongs are just a kind of tongs. These tongs are almost a box jaw tong. These are more like a flat jaw tong. A box jaw tong kind of has like little walls on the outside, and it honestly helps them like function because you get a little bit more friction, or I guess a little bit more specified friction with those. I do have kind of a set. This is kind of a set of box jaw tongs, but these are really shaped more for like a round stock, I think. You could almost consider this like a gator jaw tong too, because it's got that like tiny little neck there. But it's one of those things where, I always try to make a new set of tongs for each project that I do. And I did make a new set of tongs for this project. which were these tongs, and it allowed me to, utilize the stock when it was in this form. But I feel like I should have made a second set so that I could, because I knew that I was going to be flattening out this stock. But this is the first time I've been making a hammer, especially in this way. And, hindsight is 2020, right? I don't think we'll need as many, flat jaw tongs for our next project. I think the tongs that I made, the large stock tongs, will come in a lot handy when we are working on making a axe eye punch and an axe eye drift. All right. I think I'm gonna do another heat. Yes, I have time for another heat. And inset. All right. Gotta remind myself where those shelves are to make sure that I'm nice and consistent. We're getting a little bit of width there too. That's not bad. All right. So I think I'm gonna turn this over this time, or for our next heat. I guess I do have a little bit more heat that I can utilize, I guess. All right, but I am gonna turn this over and start working on that side now. We'll establish that nice shelf on this side. Once those shelves are nice and established and isolated, we will go back to the press. We'll get a lot more work done out of the press than out of my arm. But I just want to get that spine kind of established in there so that we're, ready to go with it. It'll take a lot less grinding at the end of the project if I take the time to establish it. At least that's the theory, right? Like I said, first axe, I don't know for sure. But I think I know. But yeah, we are starting in earnest on making this an actual axe head. I feel like the last couple streams we've been more moving material around, kind of establishing a shape that it's going to be a lot easier to work with. So now we're actually actively starting on the project and starting to create the shapes that we're looking for this axe head. So I'm really excited. We're going to start moving towards the axe head shape more and more as we keep progressing. So exciting. Friday is going to be an exciting stream, and I think Monday will be too. Let's see. I don't know. I'm hesitating because the topic that I came up with is my birthday, and like I said, I'm not entirely sure that I want to tell you guys when my birthday is. I probably should, just because it's just a date. You could really just find it, because if you were an internet sleuth, it's posted on my Facebook page. So my birthday is August 21st. So that's next Thursday, I think. I'm pretty sure it's next Thursday. And I will be 39 for the first time. I'm going to try and make something for my birthday. Corwin, you don't have to make me anything for my birthday. But yeah, it is this coming Thursday, so I don't actually have a stream that's planned for that, but I do have a stream on Wednesday and I have one on Friday. So I don't know. Do I want to add my birthday to the stream title on the day before or the day after? Maybe the day before. I would totally do a special birthday stream on my birthday, except I definitely need that time to do my edits. Thursday is the day where I make all of my shorts for YouTube. So I make 5 shorts in a few hours in that day, and then the rest of the day is dedicated to the weekly short condensed video, or I guess the long form video, the one that's like almost 4 minutes every week that comes out on Wednesday. I know, but I want to. All right, well, if it is an excuse to get you out to the shop, more power to you. Take some pictures of it, and I will take a look at it. I'm sure it'll be amazing. Ugh. My headphones are starting to wear on my ears today a little bit early for some reason. Normally it takes a lot longer for them to start pinching my head. You made your axe drift yet? I have not made my axe drift. I have a hammer eye drift, and that's this guy right here. And we used it to make this hammer that I'm still not done with. I have it about halfway down the shaft of this hammer handle. And so that's what the hole looks like that this drift makes. But I have not yet made an axe eye drift. And so I thought that I could just do a wrapped axe without a drift, and come to find out that I do need a drift in order to do it. So I think I'm gonna fudge it with this drift and use the skinnier side of it and kind of fudge it a little bit. We shall see if that's a mistake or if I can manage to do it. Nice. Yeah. So we shall see. We shall see. Like I said, it could be a mistake, but I'm hoping that I can manage to make it happen. The main problem that I've had with this hammer is that it is super small, this hole. I've already taken off like a ½ inch of the diameter of this handle to get it in as far as it is, and it is taking super amounts of effort to get this head or like the handle down inside of this hole. So I kind of feel like I need to make a bigger drift, and I need to make a bigger axe eye. So I'm hoping that because it's so small, I can kind of correct. It'll give me a little bit of extra room, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Random question. Can you just make an axe with a tang like a knife? I mean, you can. And oftentimes, like, manufacturers will do that, right? So if you go to, like, I don't know, Walmart or, a box store that has, a camping section, and you go to, like, for a camping axe, there are oftentimes axes that are just laser cut out of a sheet of steel and then ground down to make a blade, and then they will put a handle on it. Sometimes it's like a rubber, sometimes it's plastic, sometimes it's just paracord, But yeah, you can make an axe that has a tang. Um, that's not what we're doing this time, but it can be done. And there's also like hammers that have tangs, like a lot of framing hammers, like the fancy ones. They will have the framing hammer at the top, and then they'll have like a tang, so that it's nice and strong. Because a lot of really cheap framing hammers will constantly be breaking that handle. Like the fiberglass hammers or handles and the wood handles, like they don't hold up the same way that the steel tanged framing hammers do. So yeah, we could do that. It's just not what I'm doing this time. I mean, I could do it at one or at some point in the future. It's not currently on my project list, but maybe it will sometime in the future. I've seen axes made out of the jaw of a large pipe wrench. I have too. There are some really interesting recycled material axes out there. I've seen axes that were made out of circular saw blades, and some of them are relatively useful. So it's kind of like you can make and design an axe in many, many different ways. I feel like the definition of an axe, though, is basically, a chopping blade on one end and a handle on the other. So it's all in your design, I feel like. All right, I'm going to do another heat. I wonder if those are more throwing axes. I know that like the saw blade ones tend to be more like useful for throwing, but I think the saw blade ones specifically are more like the look of them as opposed to the function. So it's more form than function. All right, we're starting to get there. That nice isolation. All right. So if you take a look here, we've got it's starting to straighten out this like the area that we're going to be wrapping, and then this over here is like the head of the piece, like the hammer part. So we're starting to get that isolation that we want. But we got to keep on keeping on. An axe with a tang would not work with a wooden handle since the impact of chopping would split the wood. Makes sense. Yeah, I don't think that like the axes that have tangs that I'm talking about, like the camping axes, they have a full tang on them. So whatever they use as the handle material is like, that you put it on in halves and you like affix it with like glue or rivets or screws or whatever. There's also, like I said, paracord ones where they just wrap the paracord around it. I would not do a hidden tang axe, because yeah, it would just split. The leverage would just pull that tang right out of that, because with a knife you're not getting quite as much force, like lever force in that direction, whereas you definitely are when you have an axe. All of your force is going with that, that leverage. All right, so we've got an ad coming, and so once that ad is done, I don't know. Maybe we'll do another heat. It looks like it's thin enough that it's starting to really heat up fast. I'm going to check my time real fast. All right, so we've got about a half an hour left in my scheduled stream. We'll kind of play it by ear as to, you know, if we'll extend the stream or not. All right. Like I said, it's a little on the cooler side today than it has been over the past few days. So I feel like I could stay out a little bit longer as long as I'm not like super exhausted the next few heats from doing it by hand. But yeah, like I said, we'll probably be using a little bit of judgment to see if I can keep on keeping on. So, I'm going to do my next heat because our material is hot enough, and then I've come up with a subject that I want to talk about and ask your opinions on. All right. Something's burning. What is it? I do not see anything. I think we'll be all right. All right, back in the fire. We are starting to bounce a lot. All right. It looks like I have isolated this heel so that this wing is shorter than this one, so we're probably going to take a look at that and try and correct that a bit. All right, it is hammer time. Well, it was hammer time at least. All right, so here is my dilemma, a thing that I am thinking about. So this is a sheet of chromed stainless steel, right? And I used a sheet of, or the other half of this sheet, to make the sign, or the top of the Ray's Smithy sign, the part that says Ray's on it. And I've been recording the video already. I have all of the letters done, and all I really need to do is fold it into a box and put the LEDs in. However, I kind of realized that because it's mirrored on the outside, it might be a little bit hard for the camera to see. And this section is it's got a little bit of rust on it and some dust and things like that, so you can definitely see like fingerprints and whatnot on it. And but this side has a film on it, right? So if I took the film on it or off of it, it would be full on mirrored finish. So what I'm wondering is, are we going to be able to see the sign very well in the cameras with a mirrored finish? And I'm not entirely sure. You can definitely see like stuff in the mirror, I feel like. If I move this around, I can kind of see images. You can kind of see my laptop right there and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Now, if it's a problem, I can actually do a hammer texture, and that will actually get rid of that mirror finish, right? But it won't be that, shiny, nice mirror. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't necessarily want you guys to, see the cameras and the lights in the mirror, but, I still think it would be nice if it was a mirrored finish. Because then you'd be able to see the LEDs a little bit better on the back end anyway. So I don't know. Do you guys have an opinion? Any advice? All right, and while you guys are percolating and thinking on that, I'm going to do another heat. I need to pull my hand back a little bit. All right, so we've got a decent amount of it isolated. I think that I'm all right with that. It's a little bit weirdly shaped, but I think I can use the flat end of the press to kind of flatten that out a little bit. I think we'll be all right. So back in the fire, and then I think that we're gonna move over to the press again. Alrighty. And I need to move my camera over. There we go. That's in focus now. We are good to go. So the letter, are they cutouts or that are backlit, or are the letters pop out with LED around the border? They are cutouts, right? So the letters themselves will be negative space, and the whole thing will be like, because it's a chrome sheet, and if you heat chrome, it emits a noxious gas. I've had to do everything cold. So I cut out the letters so the letters themselves are negative, right? And then I'm going to fold the edges of the sheet into like an open box, right? And then I'm going to affix the LEDs on the sides so that if the letters are this way and the sides are this way, the light will be shooting down this direction. But the mirror on the back will start reflecting that. And I think it'll be a brighter overall color on the LEDs if I use that mirrored finish. Do you have enough access to material to do a sample of both and see how it looks on camera? Well, like I said, I mean, I have this whole sheet, that I like. If I can't make that work, I have this whole sheet. I could do it again if I needed to. However, I was hoping to get the video out. But if I had to, I suppose I could probably do a different video for next Wednesday's video. But yeah, so I could, do a couple samples and see what happens. Um, and that is an idea, you know. That is definitely something that I probably should do just to see how it looks. All right, back to the press. Let's do this. Man, it's so hot it's starting to affect my knuckles a little bit. Ah. All right, back in the heat. But I think we're gonna flip it around, go on the other side. All right. So, I'm starting to think that I'm probably going to end the stream in a few more heats, because I'm getting close to the step where I need to turn the dies 90 degrees so we can start spreading out the edges. And I think that it would be a lot easier for me to just do that or like turn the dies for the next stream. That way, I'm not just sitting there fiddling with it. Because sometimes the dies are not happy with me, and it takes a little bit of effort to get them the direction and affixed to the press the way I need them to be. So I think the best thing I can do is probably wait to widen out the piece or the axe blade until Friday. I still have a lot of thinning that I need to do, but I want to broaden this piece out before I do too terribly much more thinning, just so that I have enough material to widen this piece out and still, get a broader axe. So that is the plan. So we'll probably do 2 to 3 more heats. I need to do 2 more heats because I just turned it around. I want to do 2 heats on that side, and then I think maybe it will be 2 heats. It might just be 2 heats because we are at the 2-hour and 20-minute mark, and that should take us right up into the 2.5 hours. So 2 more heats, I think. If you guys have anybody that you'd like to raid, do let me know. If any of your friends and buddies are, or the people that you really like to watch are online, let me know. Otherwise, I'll take a look at all of the people that I normally raid, and maybe we'll make some new friends. Hi, Boston. I'm sorry you're joining right at the end. I got about 2 more heats to do, though. Welcome to the stream, though. Oh, I found a piece of stock. I'll put that over there so it can dry out a bit. I hate when I accidentally leave stock in the quench bucket because then it rusts. My tongs are starting to get a little bit on the hot side, so I'm trying to cool them off. Oh no! Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta do a big die change for the press for the next couple steps. I got about 2 heats before I need to do that, but I figured it'd just be easier to do that for Friday's stream. But thank you so much for joining us today. I always love it when you're around. Even a couple of heats of ray time is better than no ray time. Well, that's pretty sweet. All right, I'm on to it. Facts. I try to be entertaining and fun to be around. All right. Alright. Back in the heat. I dripped water on my hammer and I need to make sure that it doesn't get surface rust on it. One of my favorite hammers, you know? Alright. So we have one more heat left. Probably going to be about the same as the last one, but you know, a heat is a heat, right? Fire and glowing metal. Always fun. One more heat, one more heat. Yes, one more heat. And then I get to go in the house and cool down a bit. Like I said, it's not quite as hot as it had been or has been the last few days that I've streamed, but it's still hot enough that I'm a little sweaty. You can kind of tell that it's not quite as hot as it has been because I've only gone through 3 waters. I haven't even gotten to the Gatorade today. So that's a good thing, you know? Staying hydrated is incredibly important. I'll probably actually drink the Gatorade anyway, just like, you know, at my desk while I'm pulling down footage and stuff. Speaking of footage, let's make sure that I'm recording. I think maybe I just didn't hit record on that particular camera. It's looking like. Goodness gracious. So, Friday stream, we are going to be widening out the leaves on this axe and kind of shaping the blade edge. We definitely have to thin it out quite a bit, but I want to make sure that we've got the width that we're looking for before we start thinning it out too much, because if we don't, or if we thin it out a lot without widening it out, then we're not gonna have enough material to get the width that we want. With the stream, aren't you always recording, or do you have more cameras that you're recording from? So, I am recording the stream itself. Like when you go to my channel when I'm not streaming or like live, you can see all of the VODs and stuff. But I'm recording from each of the cameras that I use because I like to have fresh, clean visuals for my YouTube videos. So you know how I always do the little inset so that you can see me while I'm standing here, and then also what I'm doing in the close-up. I don't like to use the insets on my YouTube videos, so I try to keep a clean visual look to those. So yeah, I do actually record in 3 places. And now if I only streamed and didn't worry about YouTube, I wouldn't worry about recording from the cameras themselves. And the last 2 streams I haven't recorded at all anyway, because I knew I wasn't going to be using that footage. But today we started actually, working on the axe head and like starting to shape the axe into the shape that it's going to be. So I recorded all of today's footage. Well, that's the end of that. All right. So, one more heat, guys. One more heat. Let's do this. Not bad. Things is looking up. Alright, coolies. Thank you guys all for joining me today. You guys have been the best. Ahoy, Uranus. Welcome in, Jack. I'm just finishing up for the day. GG. Yeah. I probably, should do some more, but yeah, I gotta cool off. Bye, Jack. Thank you guys all so much for joining me today. It has been a blast, and I will see you guys on Friday. So let's raid around. Have a good night, Sis Corwin. And J.H. Newton says, be around. Yeah. You guys also have a great night. gonna cool off, and then I'm probably actually gonna watch a little bit of the WoW footage, you know? Alright. Let's see. We've got Mr. Boombody doing some chainmail. What do you guys think? Let's do some